And welcome back, everyone, to the box office report today on the 3rd of March, first week, box office weekend of the new of March, or of March, yeah, of March. And yeah, I can't. The fact that didn't even realize Chosen seasons. Stop doing this! It's messing up my box office. Didn't even know Chosen was coming out again. Anyway, not surprisingly, Dune Part 2, man, at the number one spot with $81.5 million. Bob Marley's One Love made another $7.4 million, dropping, honestly, doing a decent drop, 44.8%. Ordinary Angels debuts with about, actually, technically it dropped. This is its second week. 3.8 million, I forgot about that. Madam Web, surprisingly, in its third week, only takes a 45.9% drop. Where the hell was that drop at the first weekend? Wouldn't have saved it, but still, where the hell was that drop? For 3.2 million, and then The Chosen, season 4, episodes 7 and 8, made another 3.1 million. Noticing a little pattern with The Chosen that we'll talk about a little later. Not surprisingly, Dune Part 2 made it to the number one spot. Now, I only just looked into what the box was. I haven't actually checked over any of this, but Dune Part 2, look, 81.5 million, 97 million, 178 million. This is basically right around where they said it was going to open up. So no surprise. It's all good. Now hold on one second. Dune Part 2. Let's get the Dune Part 2 up. Let's see what the budget is. Now I haven't heard actually what the budget is on this one. 190 million, which, you know what, for the effects and everything, it makes 100% sense. And can I get a marketing budget real quick here? Marketing budget. Let's see if we can find out what the marketing budget allegedly is. So Dune has an estimated budget, including marketing, of between $315 and $340. So on a $190 million budget, that means that the budget is roughly about $150. Which, you know what, that makes... And then they're estimating between that, which, honestly, Megan, they're giving you the odds right here, which we'll go over in just a second. That makes a lot of sense, because it was a heavily marketed film. This is not like something that was like $100 million. No, this one had marketing put into it. Now, the fact that they only estimate maybe between 315 and 340 means that it might not be 150 if they don't have an exact number right now. I will highball it right now and say 340. That means this film has to hit about 510 to break even. Now, luckily, if we go to Rotten Tomatoes real quick to see what both the critics and the audiences are saying about Dune 2, I know it's almost all positive. Like, it doesn't hold a 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, but it does hold last I checked, a 90-something. Let's see here. 94%. Oh, it's gone down. Actually, a little bit it's gone down. And I'm going to be catching, yes, Kung Fu Panda 4 this week, don't worry, and Imaginary. But 95% of the audience love it, and 94% of the critics are loving it. And yeah, no, count me in the sector of the audience that loves it. The question just is, how well is it going to do? We look at the original, it made over 400 million, even with a day-and-date release, having it on TV because people were going back to see it, telling people you need to see it in the theaters. This has the advantage of no day-and-date release. So it's got and it's basically practically doubled the original opening. Now, what it does have going for it, unlike the original, is also no day-and-date release. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, not quite, but that's not the right phrase. It actually has to legitimately deal with competition. Unlike in 2021 when they did the first one came out. Unlike with that one, and unlike that scenario where there was still not a lot of movies coming. I think Venom Let There Be Carnage came out and it did better just because it was a very different movie. This movie actually is going to have to deal with a lot of competition. Like I just said, we have Kung Fu Panda fucking 4 coming out this week. I have no finger on the pulse of how well that film is tracking right now. But you have a brand new animated family film from a beloved franchise. If it's gets good reviews, that easily is going to overtake it next week for number one spot. Then you got a new Blumhouse the Imaginary film, which looks creepy, looks fun. Looking forward to seeing it. Which hopefully Night Swim didn't just sour people's taste for that. But it's a different type of movie. So both of those are immediately coming next week and are going to really hurt this. Now, don't get me wrong. This film is still, I think, going to have great legs. Great legs. People are going to want to see it repeatedly over and over again in the theater, especially when you're IMAX, XDs, Dolby's, all that. Everything, every scenario you can think of for like specialized theater experiences, people are want to go see this film. The original one, even for a day and date release, had great legs. So it's very likely that this film is going to follow in suit because it's getting, frankly, better reviews than the original did. And by all accounts, people are saying it is better than the original. And again, in a pandemic, in a day and date release, it still made 400 and some odd million. You take the day and date release out of the equation, that film probably doesn't make $1 billion, but I'd guarantee you it almost doubles. You're looking at maybe $700-800 million then. So what is the long-term box office, I think, for this film? That's difficult to say. This film has the potential to be a $100 million film. Or $1 billion film. It has the potential to do that. And look, 81 million, we've seen films open to less do more. So like, we've seen films that open to like less money than that and make $1 billion. The original Avatar, right out the gate. I don't think it'll hit $1 billion, but I think it'll do very well. Like I said, it needs to hit like around 510 to break even, and it's already on a good start. Its budget is around 190. The cardinal rule about any movies, you need to hit around a third to a half of your budget to have a really good shot. Usually they say about a half, but if you can get at least a third, that's not bad. At 190, that means this film is definitely looking at close to a half. And like it's above a third, but it's like between a third and a half. Like whatever that fraction is, which is not a fourth. It's between those. So I'm not sure what. Yeah, it's like maybe like a 1.5 or no, 1.5. What am I trying to think of? Between 50% and 33%. So you can like maybe it's like around 40%, so something like that. Either way, we'll see what happens with Dune, but it's a great movie. It is fantastic, and it deserves the success currently it's getting. We'll see if the success can be long-term or not, which I think it will be. One Love, Bob Marley's One Love made 7 million plus, and it's currently at 146. So, I think I said that Bob Marley's film has to probably hit about 210, or like 180 to 200, roughly speaking, because I think it's about an $80 million budget, if I remember correctly. And you're looking at least 50 million, probably, because they've been marketing this film for a while, but they've just been kind of rehashing the same trailer, so some advantages, but still long-term marketing. It doesn't look like it's going to hit that threshold. And honestly, I'm not surprised. The film didn't get the best reviews from the critics, and the audience, while liking it, weren't necessarily going back to see it. Paramount, unfortunately, is having a pretty rough year right now, from what I understand. And not even year. They're in a rough spot. Like they are now in the position that Sony was in years ago, where they're kind of near bankruptcy. If they don't really start pulling in some money, that they're going to be in trouble. Let's actually look real quick at what the upcoming slate for Paramount is, because obviously Bob Marley, I don't think on an $80 million budget was going to do it. So let's just take a quick look right now about films coming out and from which studios they're coming out from. Right now we're just looking at Paramount. So let's see. Paramount has something called Snack Shack, which cute low budget film. I saw the trailer for it. I'm like, oh, that is kind of cute, but not really my. Let me rephrase that. It's not my cup of tea. It's not going to do well. Let's see here. Anything else from Paramount right now? Wow, they don't have anything until. Holy crap. They don't have anything until frickin' May with If. And If could be either a new classic or a giant wash. It depends how well the audience responds to it and how much money gets put into it, which is the cardinal rule for anything. Quiet Place Day One. Okay, that one's going to be a hit. I have no doubt that Quiet Place Part 1 is going to be a hit for Paramount. Because the other ones are hit, and the other ones they're all made on relatively low amounts. Other than that, Transformer 1, again, no finger on the pulse of that right now, so no way to say. Smile Deluxe. What the hell? Suspense? Is that like a sequel to the movie Smile? We're not here to really look into, but otherwise, Gladiator 2. And Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Okay, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 most likely will be a financial success for them. But yeah, they're strong, which is amazing because 2 years ago they had freaking Top Gun Maverick. What the hell happened? I legitimately don't know. Was it 2 years ago or yeah, it was 2 years ago. Because was that during? No, that was 2 years ago. It wasn't last year. It was like 2022. But point being is like, what happened? Bad investments? I don't know. All I know is Paramount is hurting a bit. It's hurting a bit. What else we got here? We got Ordinary Angels, 3.8 million this week or the weekend, 12.5 million. I mean, it's not made on much, but it's not making its money back. And look, it didn't drop a lot, which is good. There are audiences for this type of movie. It's just it's not an audience big enough to really make your money back on. Unfortunately, not like Madame Web, which, let's see here. Hey, look, Madame Web hit 91 million. Madame Web may actually cross 100 million. It's 9 million away from doing that. That is pitiful. For a comic book movie, for us to say, hey, it might actually cross 100 million. For us to say that about a comic book movie, man. Look, 3 years ago, no joke, 4 technically, but 3 years ago, we were in like the nirvana of comic book movies. And then pandemic hit, and then we started getting lackluster stuff from Marvel, and DC was already losing the audience. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Like, people forget that we've never actually been in a golden age of comic book movies. We were in the golden age of Marvel. And that Marvel golden age just happened to spill off into other movies. Because Marvel was just cranking out success, whereas the DCEU was not really cranking out as much success. Once Justice League happened, once Aquaman kind of came and went, people were just we're kind of over the DCEU a little bit. And then other studios, Spider-Man, which technically is tied to Marvel, like their Venom films did well, but Morbius didn't do well, and Madame Web just sucked. The offshoot comic book movies like Hellboy or Bloodshot did not work well at all. So we've never actually been in a golden era of comic book movies per se. Now, again, we were still getting things like the Joker and the Batman, so it was not like there weren't other good movies out there. But the fact is that we didn't care because we were getting just such top quality with Marvel. But once the quality dipped, we now started to notice the big gaps in the entire genre. Now, this again, I will fundamentally disagree with anyone who says Marvel is dead. If you say that in the comics, you're entitled to your opinion. Just know that I think your opinion is dead wrong. But I think Marvel is not dead, but it's in its weakest state it's ever been. It is definitely, comic book genre is even in the weakest state it's been in years. Not the weakest state it's ever been, though. No. We're not in the post-Batman and Robin world. I don't think we'll ever get back to that, because that was just... we're not in the... Like, as bad as Madame Web is, and I still think it's one of the worst comic book movies I've ever seen, it's still not, like, the worst thing in the world, now that I've had time to sit with it. It's just really, really bad. And it was a wasted potential. Wasted potential with a cool character. And for others, but Marvel's dead. Look what the Marvels did. Yeah, the Marvels. The first film since the inception of the company. Except for maybe Incredible Hulk. I think Incredible Hulk did not make money. But that's just, again, they were just starting out. Save Incredible Hulk. The first film... let's go ahead of Incredible Hulk. Since Iron Man 2, to barely make $200, to make under $300 million. That's not a studio being dead. That's a studio finally hitting something that just straight out did not resonate. And guess what? Even though they're kind of in a slump, they've hit a bit of a slump. Not all their projects have worked. Quantumania was a bit of a bust, but then you had freaking Guardians of the Galaxy. Then you had Captain Marvel was a bit of a bust, but Loki season 2. And I know I'm ignoring a couple, but still. It's like, if people just want to be so selective, these idiots who want to say, Marvel's dead, they've been saying it for years. And now they feel like they're justified in saying it when they've just been parroting the same damn thing over and over again and hoping to be right. And they're still not right. So, I don't know. Anyway, The Chosen, season 4, episodes 7 through 8. made 3.9 million. Hooray. Now, what I was going to say about this, though, is that you kind of realize very quickly that the Chosen series, with these releases, the first one had a relatively sizable release for something like this, but then everything else was just lower and lower because now people are not going to the theater to watch these things. They're watching it on TV. They're watching it on streaming. They're watching it as it's supposed to be watched. So it's a great idea for to premiere a series with, or season with. It's not so great an idea to, and then granted, this is just kind of printing money at this point, extra money that the studios get to keep. But regardless, Migration, under $2.5 million. Good for Migration. $276 million, legit. Good for Migration. Not a great film, but a fun little film. I fully admit I enjoyed myself. Demon Slayer, another $2 million. God, yeah, these anime special releases for movies, they come and go very quickly. But hey, $39 million. Most anime is pretty cheap. I mean, not cheap in the sense of a movie sense, like in a studio sense to make. So there's that. Wonka. I wonder where Wonka stands right now. 1.7 million. Wonka is now finally really starting to hit its final legs. 624. Not surprised. Like I said, at best I thought maybe it could hit 650, but I was more inclined to think 630 to 640. And that looks like it's really going to be right where it ends up. Not that it matters. The film made its money back in spades. So I don't think we really need to worry about Wonka and its success. Argyle, a film we do need to worry about its success. 1.4, 92 million. Think about this for a moment. Argyle, in its fifth week of release, being open 2 weeks longer than Madam Web, is not going to make as much as Madam Web does. What happened here? This is something you need to just this is something we'll analyze from like Femento when you ever watch his videos. This is something he'll analyze, like how the hell did it, because Madam Web still hasn't made as much, but it's making more per week than Argyle is, and it's literally only $1 million away from that. So what happened with Madam Web? We can discuss that all day. We've discussed it before, but what happened with Argyle, man? Didn't even crack 100 million. That's terrible. And let's actually take a quick look then about Universal, because Universal, one second here, hasn't necessarily had the strongest start this year either. So let's see. We're currently in March. So what comes out for Universal this March? Well, we got Kung Fu Panda 4 right out the gate. It's going to have probably a better start with that. Anything else from Universal coming out, let's just say in a couple months? Actually, it's a good question. Anything else? Universal. Abigail. Oh, the fun little vampire horror film. That looks like fun. So that's something. The Fall Guy, which looks like it's going to be. So Universal has a much better looking lineup right now than, say, Paramount does. That's for certain. Although nothing in June. They got Despicable Me 4, which probably is going to net them a nice solid $200 million in profit. So nothing to worry about there. But yeah, not necessarily the best. The Beekeeper, $1.1 million, $151 million. It was already capping out, but still great to see. Driveway Dolls, a film I liked. I had a good time with Driveway Dolls. $4.1 million. It's not making its money back at all. We're looking now at the remainder. Everything else is under $500,000. Anyone But You is now pretty capped out, but made $207 million. Might even hit 210 or 215. Again, just lack of that type of film and good word of mouth will do a lot for you. Nothing else really stands out for the rest of it, really at all, for the rest of the year. So the question now simply becomes, what does the box office look like for this coming week? Because we have 2 widescreen, well, technically we have 3, but let's be honest. One moment here. Where are you? Oh, yeah. Technically, you have 3, but Rayman's Big Movie and Cabrini, I don't think are going to be within the top 5. When we say wide release, we're talking about the big wide release. These things are usually getting a couple hundred, 500 or 600 screens, and usually not a lot of people know about them. I didn't know about them until I read them. Ooh, damn. Now, I think we're going to see less than a 50% drop for Dune. I do think that, which means you're looking at Dune making anywhere between, like, say, 45 to 50 million next week, which would be a fantastic drop. I do see Kung Fu Panda making more than that, though. So Kung Fu Panda is going to be number 1. I do see Dune Part 2 being number 2, though. I'll then put Imaginary at number 3. After that, not ugly looking weekend here for the bottom 2. Bob Marley will probably be number 2, or number 4, I should say. So then between Ordinary Angels and Madam Web, I'm going to go Ordinary Angels. It took much less of a drop, so I got to go Ordinary Angels. So again, Kung Fu Panda, Dune Part 2, Imaginary, Bob Marley, and then Ordinary Angels. What do you think the box office is going to be like next week? Let me know in the comments below. But until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you later.